Hey Life Pixers, hope you're having an awesome day. Are you on TikTok? Are you following me on TikTok and getting a ton of productivity tips, rewind your brain tips, snippets from episodes, all that on at Life Pix University on TikTok? You will absolutely love it. And today's guest, we've got an amazing couple. Ooh, I love couples. This couple has been married for 7 years and has a really interesting chemistry together. There's an absolute love and passion for each other with a lot of respect. I know you will like them as much as I did. Thank you so much, Chris and Amanda, for being here. I am excited you are here with us. You want to start by telling us how you guys met?
Okay, so actually, Chris and I met, I guess, should I go back and say how I found out about him to begin with?
Yeah.
Okay. So Chris, I went to college with Chris's brother, Michael, 10 years prior. And then 10 years later, Michael and I were at a mutual friend's wedding. We were at the cocktail hour. I was just catching up with Michael to see how things had been since, I'd seen him a few years prior. And, we got to talking, and I don't know how the conversation turned to like what we were doing professionally, because we both had the same major in college. So once it switched to what was going on professionally, and we were talking about jobs, I don't know how I brought up that I was single. And he said, he's like, I have a brother. And I don't remember how it got brought up, maybe because it was a cocktail hour and maybe I had a drink or two before the conversation started. I was having a good time. I love a good wedding. Who doesn't love a good party? Right. So then he showed me a picture of his brother. He was like, I have a brother. I said, Michael, I knew you for so long. We actually took a night class together in college 10 years before. And during that night class, whenever there was a break, we had a break in our day, I think. So before we went to the night class, we would go out to dinner and hang out and then go to the night class. Because Michael and I we were just really good friends, always had a good time together. And I never knew that Michael had a brother. Even though we spent all that time together, I never knew.
It's like, what do you speak about if not for that?
I know. I guess we must have just talked about schoolwork and friends and things like that. What we were doing for the weekend. It's really funny. So he showed me a picture of his brother, and to me, he looked like, at that time, I didn't want to be in a relationship. Right? I was 30 years old. I had just bought my own condo. I was like, I'm going to be the single friend. Everybody's got a single friend. I'm going to be the single friend, and I'm happy to just be single. And then Michael showed me the picture. Like I said, I keep repeating myself. And then when he showed me the picture, I thought he looked cute. And I was like, he kind of looks like the kind of guy that wants to be single. That was like what I got from the picture. I got that see, look at me judging a book by its cover. And
how'd that work out for you?
married for 7 years. So I guess I was definitely incorrect, but I feel like I've been told in the past that I'm a really bad judge of character. So that stayed pretty consistent. So then Michael went ahead and he said something to you, I guess, later on. And then
we exchanged emails at the time. Yeah.
And
so hold on, pause, Amanda, for a second. From your perspective, Chris, how did it go?
So I was the same way. I wasn't really looking for a relationship. I was going out on the weekend, having fun, going to parties. I just came out of a long relationship that didn't work out. And honestly, for me at that point in my life, relationships just weren't working out for me. I was a very particular person. I would always like to be alone a lot of times. So I really didn't want to be committed at that time. I would love to have relationships with people, but to be serious with just one person, I don't know. I was just turned off by it. I just got out of 2 long-term relationships, and I just was having fun, meeting people, having friends, nothing serious. So then my brother had mentioned that a friend from school was interested. So we exchanged emails.
But even though you told him, Michael, his brother, that you were interested, or you really said like, nah.
I didn't like it. I didn't really like getting hooked up, but he goes, she liked your picture. Just talk to her. You never know what can happen. So I went in with the intention that maybe I'll make a friend. Maybe we'll just hang out. I didn't think this was going to be like like some kind
7-year marriage plus.
Yeah. I didn't think it was like a blind date where it was like, so serious. So what happened was we exchanged, emails, or I think Facebook, and we just started messaging back and forth for a while. I think we were drinking maybe at the time that we were talking to each other. I think we're both
You
out,
and
maybe,
drinks,
right?
Amanda.
I
And
know, that's kind of crazy. No, it was July 4th.
July 4th, so we were both drinking and having a good
Having a
time.
good time just with friends and
Because that was the first time we actually spoke to each other, I think, right? I think we friend requested each other and then didn't speak.
You friend requested me.
And then I remember. So then on July 4th, I was drinking and having a good time. It was like 3 weeks later. So I was like, do you like my move? The friend request and then the awkward silence. And then she just laughed and she wrote back. And then we were actually getting into some deep conversations until somebody
I guess I got
just dropped the ball and just stopped emailing out of the blue.
I guess I got a little busy with work and then I just didn't write him back. I can't believe I did that because recently I actually was in my Facebook messaging somebody and I looked through the old messages and I found the messages that you and I had, exchanged back and forth. And they were so like deep. Like you were saying, we weren't just talking about, like,
TV shows or
and like your favorite, your favorite color or, the weather. They were actually really,
I think social issues, philosophy. We were like talking about like serious stuff.
Oh,
so I was like,
your
all right.
relationship was built on deep conversations.
Yeah. So I was like, all right. But then all of a sudden it dropped out of nowhere. So honestly, because like I didn't come into it serious, I just didn't even think about it. So maybe a few weeks later, I saw your friend, who's a mutual friend of my brother. And he's like, oh, how's it going, Amanda? I'm like, oh, no, honestly, it just, dropped off. Then he's like, no, because we were drinking, we're at a brewery for my brother's. It wasn't a bachelor party. Maybe it was, he was taking out like the groomsmen for a drink or whatever. And he was like really adamant. He's like, no, she's a great girl. No, don't give up. She's a great girl. So I think, did he contact you or did he told me to email you again and give you another chance. And then I think I did. And then how did it work out with the wedding? Do you remember?
So Chris had emailed me back and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry that, I got a little busy with work. I fell off a little bit. And then you invited me to be, so Chris then invited me to be the blind date to his brother Michael's wedding.
Ooh, the guy who started it all.
Yeah, so her friend Matthew was like, oh, this and that. He goes, she's a cool girl. Take her to the wedding. I was like, all right, if she wants to come. Because I said, even if, I kind of figured, even if you don't like me, you have so many mutual friends at the wedding, it could just be, not that serious. It wasn't like pressure, So
right, you'll feel comfortable there still and like.
Yeah.
And I had actually, at that time, I had just finished reading a book called The Year of Yes. I don't know if you're familiar with that book.
Yes.
And he asked me to go to this wedding. I never met him in person, didn't know his personality. I mean, I saw pictures of him on Facebook and, like what his brother showed me, but I had no idea if we were going to click. But like you said, I did have friends that were going to be at the wedding. And the person whose wedding that I was at when Michael first spoke to me, that was Matt. That was the guy that was talking me up to Chris. So I knew they were going to be at Michael's wedding, and Matt and I are very good friends from high school. So I was like, even if we don't click, we don't enjoy each other's company, my friends are going to be there, so it'll be fine. So I said yes.
Yes.
7 years later, 8 years later.
Mm-hmm.
So then I had to fool around with her though. I had to have my cousin when she first came pretend to be me. Because we never met before. So he went up to her and said, hi, I'm Chris. And she was like, what?
But I knew that it wasn't you.
Yeah, so we started off on it.
So
right away. Like, does that
break the ice.
Come into your marriage today?
And you also, the night of the rehearsal dinner, you called me just to give me the address of where the wedding was going to be.
Yeah, so instead of texting, I called her. We spent like an hour on the phone. We had a great conversation.
And I was hysterical laughing. I was like, this guy is so funny. And then he was like, I'm so sorry. I have to go. He's like, I really was only intending to call you for just a few minutes to give you the address, and then we got into like an hour-long conversation. So I don't know.
When you were excited for the wedding, you're like, okay, this is going to be good.
I was like, at least he's funny.
Yeah.
All right, I won't be bored. Okay, so now 7 or 8 years later since that night, how has your relationship changed from the beginning to like now?
Oh, I thought.
I feel like you have something there.
I feel like we got, so to go back, we got serious really fast. So we hung out at the wedding, and I think the next weekend was I already at your house, at your apartment the next week, or maybe 2 weeks later.
Mm-hmm.
And then like 3 weeks later, we were already in Atlantic City overnight. I mean, I don't know how it progressed so fast, but it started off like really, really fast and really serious. And so she's asking from till now how it's changed. We don't have fun anymore. We love each other, but that kind of spontaneity stopped. The funness stopped. We don't go out and party and drink as much as we used to.
Well, I mean, I feel like the pandemic, unfortunately, I don't know if you hear this a lot, Esty, like a lot of people, because of the pandemic, like we don't even go on dates.
It's hard. It's hard. Yeah.
We went on our first date in like a year and a half, 2 weeks ago.
And it was a big deal for us.
Oh, wow. Where are you located?
So we're in New York. So everything is very...
so you're like not even close to getting over.
Yeah. So where's mandates? We couldn't enter restaurants for a period of time. It was tough. Restaurants were closed.
Cards and all of it.
Yeah. It was real serious. So
God. So
that really put a hamper on it. But like, we're very close. We're home. We live in a 2-bedroom apartment. We can't get away from each other. So we do have, from the beginning. Now, to be honest, we've seen a lot of our differences more now than we have in the beginning. Our hobbies, our interests. I think maybe in the beginning we were closer and we thought maybe that our interests aligned more. Not saying it's negative that they don't align now, but so we try to do things to bring ourselves together rather than happen naturally. Maybe we used to talk about philosophy or read a book together. And I find that stuff like that, we don't have anymore. So we have to intentionally make time now to get that closeness, whether it's watching a show or reading a book. But I felt like in the beginning, it was just flowing so naturally. She would go to the racetrack because I like to gamble. So she was going to racetrack, Atlantic City. Now gambling's not too good of a topic for her. So things change, I guess things get more serious too as we're married because now we have responsibilities. We want to get a house, we have cars, we're paying for things. When we first met, it was a lot different.
Yeah.
I
mean, I guess it's the excitement of a new relationship, and we did, like Chris was saying, we moved really quickly. He had proposed and 8 months?
Within a year. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
We were living together within like 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
Because we were older, I guess, relatively speaking at the time. We were, I think, 30.
Mm-hmm.
Was I 30? You were 30?
You weren't 30 yet.
I was 29. You were 31. Yeah. And we, it wasn't like we're 16 talking to like 4 or 5 different people at once. We would just talk to each other and, we would see each other all the time.
You ready for her condo?
Yeah. So she had a condo. I lived in Staten Island at the time and she was living in Jersey. So like to go see her, it would have to be like an overnight thing or, it was a travel. It was over an hour. So we would do things. We would go to Atlantic City. We would go to hotel rooms. We would do
so that's even further, like from Staten Island. You could have gone somewhere like in between.
Yeah.
I'm from Jersey also. So.
Okay.
Yeah, but more central. So it's like literally in between Atlantic City and Staten Island.
We're actually looking to buy a house in that area around Brick. I don't know if that's
that's really close to me.
Okay. Tom's River, Brick.
Oh, right there. That whole situation. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's our dilemma now with the house.
Jackson, Lakewood, like that whole area. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
So that's the reason why we can't really gamble now and have so much fun, because now it's like, okay, we got to tighten the purse strings a little bit because we're saving for a house. So.
Yeah, and the market these days.
We've had trouble. I mean, we put in a couple bids. We had to go like 40,000 over, and they said no to us. So
literally,
it's tough for us.
It's like people have like no inspections, cash,
no appraisal,
like crazy.
Yeah.
I'm like, just don't buy in a house with no inspections, please. Yeah. Like, just don't. Like, I know someone who was looking for a house recently and they had an inspector who comes in, like, they had to like change the ceiling, whatever, the roofing. And so they agreed, the landlord or like builder who's saying he'll change it. And then like within like the time that they put in like their bid, then he decided not to do it. Someone else a couple months later, less than 3 months later, bought the house because they needed like emergency. And within 2 weeks of moving in, the ceiling fell in a kid's room. Kid was like,
oh my God.
Thank God it didn't hit the kid. But I'm like, that kid is traumatized for the rest of his life. Like a house is like meant to be a safe place. And so just don't.
Yeah, it's a serious purchase. You can't just say, okay, no inspection. Like,
I know, right? Like
it's not like a piece of clothing. If it doesn't fit, you can return it. It's
so yeah. Let's What?
Oh, no, go. I was going to say, so along with the pandemic, like also not being able to get the house that we want is kind of affecting the relationship. I'm not saying whether it's negative or positive, but we're really trying to get our own place, and we're living in a 2-room apartment. So I guess it's tougher space wise. She likes to do yoga. We don't have spot. I like to box. I like to do fitness. Like, we're missing out on a lot of stuff if we had a house that we can give us a little more individual freedom as well.
Yeah, because I think that as much as it's great to spend time together, it's also great to kind of, do your own thing too, because I think that strengthens the relationship.
Oh yeah. Like when you have that space and you have almost like that missing, and then like, okay, now you're getting back. Like you went to work for the day and like, oh, you didn't see your spouse the whole day. So like now I'm excited to see him versus each other 24/7. And I'm like,
exactly.
I just can't breathe, right?
Yeah. I also think that I challenge you sometimes because I work from home. So I'm here in these 2 rooms all day long. And then he'll come home and I'm like at him. So I'm like, hey, how you doing? How was your day? And he's like, I just walked in. And
you're like, I didn't see any people. And he was like,
oh, people all day. I'm like, Zoom is my life, So I feel like the pandemic has changed the dynamic in so many relationships. Yeah. I don't want to say like assume that other people's relationships have been affected as well, but I feel like even friendship relationships have changed too.
Everything has changed. Like I love to travel, but I'm not vaccinated. So it's like the only places you could go is like literally Googling where can Americans who aren't vaccinated to go to. And it's like, okay, you have 4 countries, unless you want to quarantine or like everything. Yeah. So it affects like who I'm meeting and places that I'm going. And every single couple that comes on, like if we're talking about COVID,
I lost my job for a month because I wasn't vaccinated. And then I had to make a decision just because I thought I would get exempt, and I had to just get the shot because what am I going to do?
Yeah.
In New York, job
crazy.
Crazy.
Like New Jersey is really bad, but when you're coming from New York, it's good. So when you move here, which hopefully, I don't know what's going to be then, but hopefully it'll be at least a little bit easier for you on that side of things. So you're saying that, like, I just want to go back a little tiny bit. You said that in the beginning, some of your hobbies were like, you thought they were more in line, and then later on you realized they were not so much. So what other sort of examples did you see in the beginning that like you thought like you connected with, and these were things that you like doing together, and now you're like, hey, no, I like doing this and you like doing that?
Can you think of anything? I mean, specifically maybe books and reading. We used to look at YouTube videos all the time and be like asking questions to each other, and philosophy and culture. And we were I just feel like that was our niche in the beginning. Even like quantum physics videos. I mean, just like interesting stuff. We would have drinks and watch it, and it would really stimulate me. And I don't know if it stimulated you as much, but it seemed as though.
Absolutely.
Or did you do it just because that's what he liked?
No, I really enjoyed it. I remember because he was saying that the third weekend that we went down to Atlantic City. And I remember being upset when we got to Atlantic City because it was the end of the car ride with him. And the entire car ride, we talked about philosophy and, about things that really meant something. And I'll never forget that trip. Like even what is this, 9 years later, 10 years later, I still think about that trip all the time and how upset I was when the road trip was over.
Yeah. And I guess to get to your question, I guess maybe it wasn't that we shared interests as much as we tolerated each other's interests more. Because like now she'll say, I feel like we have nothing in common, where we would never say that prior. Like we would support each other. She hates gambling now, which I accept. But like back then she's like, oh, let's go to Atlantic City. So like now
for the car ride.
Yeah, for the car ride. Stay in the car, be right out, honey.
No, it's not. It's not even that. I don't think that I hate gambling. I think that fine in moderation, like anything else. If anything becomes out of control, then I guess I would label that. You don't want to label anything either, but I would say that it's like not healthy at that point, because if you have the money to lose, that's completely fine. And that if that's your pastime, that's what you want to do, amazing. You do whatever works. But right now, because we're saving for a house, we don't have as much disposable income to be, playing. That's all.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's like making adult decisions. If you want this or that.
Right. Like I'm not saying we can't go. We did go to Atlantic City a few months ago. We had a great time. I danced like it was the end of the world.
See, basically. That's the fun, like, Amanda. And you were back. I think maybe drinking too changed. No, I'm serious.
You need to make more cocktails at home.
No, it's funny because she has acid reflux, so she can't drink anymore. So in the beginning, we were going out drinking, partying. She was very loose. But when she doesn't drink, she's very control. Not in a bad way, but you like to. You're tighter.
Well,
You're not as
alcohol
fun
opens
as
up
you-
everyone and loosens everyone
Yeah,
up.
and
So it's not just
and
her.
it's fun, and I like going out with friends and drinking and stuff. And I feel like now if we go out, you're like maybe the designated driver, and everyone else is drinking,
When,
so you don't have as
when
much
have we
fun.
gone out?
I'm saying if we go to a friend's house or other stuff, but that's not your
We
fault
don't really
because
go out. That's the thing.
because you have the acid
COVID,
reflux.
right? Just blame COVID.
But there's
Yeah.
where are we gonna go out? That's the thing. We went to that restaurant. There's a restaurant here that at night they have a guy that sings with a piano and everybody's drinking. And I went with you a few times. We had
That's
a good time.
That's true.
We
But
took
she's
a cab.
but in terms of what changed since we met, I think we used to drink all the time when we were together, which is fun, not bad way. But
You're grown up adults now. That's
I don't want
it.
to grow up.
Then you were older, but not grown up yet.
But I think that when you're still dating or when you're in a relationship, you have to make time, right? Because you don't live together. So you have to make the time to commit. And when you're together, usually you're really connected, I feel like, and in tune with one another, and there's no distractions. And I feel like being married, there's so many distractions. You know,
Also, it's like, okay, I'll see you soon. Like you're there right next to me. Versus like if you're going out to meet someone, so you had this date for 3 hours, 7 hours, you go really long. But it's like these are focused times versus like you're right here. I'm just cooking dinner and you're watching or whatever, and you're not together.
Yeah. And there's a lot of subtle things too. Like if we're driving and she's on the phone, or she's driving and I'm on the phone, like stuff like that. I noticed like very subtle things in a relationship that are different now than maybe they were when we first met. But there's a lot of, like that's distractions, like Instagram, Facebook. It's not necessarily work related, but it's just that the world we live in, we're so used to just taking our phones out and looking and scrolling and that you don't realize you can quickly not realize that that's time you could be spending or talking, with your partner.
You're making me like think it should be like I don't know, like maybe someone wants to do this of making like a conscious decision that like, okay, every time we're in the car together, unless it's like an emergency, we're off phone. So that way, even in your everyday, you have some like time.
Yeah. So we do walks like that. Well, like, let's go for a walk, put the phones home,
And then there was also a time where with anytime we ate, and that's something too, I think that's affected this. Anytime we ate out at a restaurant, there were no phones, and we don't go out.
Yeah.
So now, and even to, like, this is so silly, but I don't want to say anything to make you uncomfortable. But even when we sit at the table and eat dinner, like you immediately get up and clean the table and you're gone. I don't know if you noticed that.
By the way, I do that right away. I used to have people that tell me that also you're like asleep, just like sit. Like, it's fine. You could do that if you wait a few more minutes. It's like, has to be like a conscious thing. Okay, no more phones. We finished dinner, but we could still like spend another couple minutes just like talking and connecting.
And talk. And I hope that didn't upset you.
No, it's fine.
Okay. It's just something, you notice these things with one another.
I'm not aware of it sometimes. So it's,
Isn't that interesting? And shame on me, because that shows that I'm not communicating what I actually feel. Because I feel things a lot of times and I think things and I don't communicate them. And that's something that Chris has taught me in our relationship. I've learned so much from you, like to communicate. And I always thought I was a great communicator. And then you get married and then you have a partner and somebody else to consider. And I've learned that I'm not as good of a communicator as I thought I was. And through being in our marriage, I feel like I hopefully have been able to work on that and become a little bit of a better communicator.
Yeah.
Because I can't assume that you know what I'm thinking. And then a lot of times like I'll hold in, and I feel like I see a lot of things, and you say this too all the time to me. And something that I've become aware of too is a lot of times he'll be like, "Oh, that's something that your mom does." Like I'm so these things are like condition learned things that she does. She puts like feelings on other people before she even communicates it. And I've done that, and I'm guilty of doing that. And I think that being with you, you've taught me how important it is to speak my truth, to say it, because you don't know what I'm thinking in the moment, and you've said too, like sometimes I put my own feelings on you, and you're like, thank you for putting your feelings on me, but that's not actually what I mean by what I'm saying. And like I read into things because I've learned it. It's like
I'll text her, okay, if I'm busy at work I'll just write okay, and she's like, so like for her she's like, you just wrote okay, are you mad at me?
Yeah.
It's like,
you're like, I just looked up 3 things right now.
Sometimes, but she reads into that,
Yeah.
But I think we've gotten better with that.
Because I catch
With us, at least. Not with other people. She's like, oh my God, my friend wrote okay.
I catch myself reading things. I was just having a conversation the other day with my cousin Emily. And she texted me about plans, and I was like, it's okay. If you really don't want to do it, it's okay. And she's like, that's not what I'm saying. And then I had a conversation with her in person and told her my mother tends to do that where she doesn't speak her truth. And because she doesn't speak her truth, I've grown up having to read into what my mother believes, what my mother thinks, and what my mother's feeling. And because of that, I noticed that I put that on everybody else. So I'm constantly reading into the real meaning behind people's words, and it's exhausting.
Oh yeah, like the amount of mental energy that it goes into that. And then like finding out that it's not true or still thinking that it is, even like, yeah, that's a lot of personal work.
Oh yeah. And I'm also a yoga teacher and a yoga practitioner. So I'm constantly doing my awareness work. So I'm like, sometimes you even say like, I'm too into svadhyaya, means self-study. I don't know if you're familiar with yoga, but whenever I'm in like the svadhyaya or the self-study mode, he's like, okay, now you're actually doing maybe a little bit too much. He's like, pull it back a little bit, I have like so much awareness from the yoga practice. I become so mindful and so aware of the way that I show up and the things that I do that I feel like I'm always working on that. So like, I hope it's helped our relationship. I feel like it has, because sometimes when we fight, I'm able to not feed into it, kind of just take the breath, practice the pause, let him do his thing, and then I can come in and talk to him later when you're a little more calm. So.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I like that so much. Okay. So as we get to our final question, right before that, where could Life Fixers connect with you and learn more about you?
Life Fixers are more than welcome to connect. I love to connect. I love to hear about what other people are thinking, and I just love people.
This couple's a really deep thinkers. So they like good conversations.
Oh, good. I'm all about that. So I have a website. It's my name, amandagargiulo.com. I'm also a host, a commercial actress, a certified nutrition coach, and a yoga teacher. So if I can help anybody, I would love to. So you can feel free to go right there. You can see all my media, and you can actually book coaching sessions with me if you're interested. So we can work together. You could also get me on Instagram at amanda.gargiulo. And then my business name is Nourish Your Soul Wellness. So anybody can just go to nourishyoursoulwellness.com.
You could just go to Atlantic City next to me. I should be at the roulette table. If you go to
get your house.
You go to Freehold Racetrack, I'll be at Freehold Monmouth. So I'm lucky I have an email account. I'm not really a technological person. She has like 8 emails. I have like maybe 1 that I don't even check. But Gargiulo1010 at yahoo.com is my only means of communication, I think.
Okay, awesome. So for our final question is, how would you describe an extraordinary relationship without using love, trust, or communication?
Best friends.
I like that one. What are you going to say, Chris?
Damn, you took my...
That was it?
No, I'm joking. I just wanted to sound like I was coming up with something.
You want me to give you? I can give you another one.
Without love, trust?
I know what his answer could be, but I don't want to answer for him. So go ahead.
Well, is it cheating to say honesty? Or is that part of trust?
No, that's another really
because that's big to me. Like even if you're going to tell me something that's bad, I rather just tell me. I'm open to that. I think it comes back to trust, I guess. So it's not really fair. Because if I was going to say, if I don't trust you, then it's like, that's why in the past I've had bad relationships where, that's where my bad relationships have gone wrong, maybe with the trust issues. Because I'm just a normal guy. I'm a transparent person. There's no reason. But I'm sorry, I don't really have.
No, you did it.
Oh, team. Yeah, team.
Yeah.
Cheated.
Yeah.
So.
Because I would say that because once Chris and I got into a fight and I was fighting him.
You make it sound like you only fighted once in your entire life. Please tell me that you fought more than once in your 7 years of marriage.
No, we definitely.
Actually, we fight, but like we'll have real fights. But like for some reason, 10 minutes later, we just either one of us will apologize and come to our senses. It's like we don't stay mad. I don't think ever one night that we stood mad at each other. But it's funny. She'll always threaten to like, I'm just going to go to my mother's because she doesn't like confrontation. I'm from Brooklyn, so I'm like screaming and this and that, but I'm not, that's just the way I talk. I have a temper, but
such a New Yorker.
Yeah, because Chris is so nice. Like everybody loves Chris when they meet him. He's so sweet. But then when you get angry, it scares me. I'm like, whoa, because you don't expect it. It comes out of nowhere. It's like, whoa. But we had this fight. And even when we fight, I feel like a lot of times it's just the conversation more than anything else. But you stopped me and you said to me, you were like, Amanda, don't think that I'm against you. When we fight, you were something to the effect of, I'm always with you. We're a team. And I was like, oh my goodness, he's right. I'm fighting against him. Why am I fighting against him? We're a team. We're supposed to be doing this together. Like he's my partner. He's my life partner,
And to be a team, it's very important, I think, also, like we said before, to give each other mutual individual space as well.
Yeah.
Because that strengthens you. Because if you don't have that, you're going to end up resenting each other and you're not going to want to be a team. Mm-hmm. So I think being strong individuals coming together is much better in a relationship than just forcing each other to, oh, you have to be with me. You came home from work. I'll come home from work sometimes and go running for an hour and a half. And sometimes you would get upset. And then now you just realized I needed that, and then we become stronger because of that, rather than resent each other and say, oh, he wants to be away from me, or me resenting you saying, oh, she won't let me do what I want to do. And that's where it breaks down, I think. Yeah. This is for us. Like it may be different for, obviously, different relationships have different parameters and different standards.
So going back to what we said, people with all different backgrounds and life experience.
Yeah, and some things work for them. Maybe some people want to be together all the time, and that works for them. It gives them the security or safety if they need that. But I feel like we've found that within each other what works, and we just accentuated that rather than try to be a typical couple. It's funny because I remember when we first started dating, you were an independent girl. You had your own job. I like that. She had her own apartment. And then we got married. She was like going to the supermarket. I don't know if I was tired or doing something. She's like, I'll wait for you. I'm like, why? I'm like, just go. And then you're like, wow, that's my mother's mentality. Like the husband and the wife have to go. Like she was getting milk or something. I was like, do you really have to it's like, and that was, but see, it was a subtle thing. But to me, like, you realize like now she's expecting me to go to the supermarket every single time. Like, no. And then you did it and you're like, wow, that was fine. Like, it was just, that's something that my mother always did. My father, she dragged him to the supermarket, and then that broke the cycle. And now she does her own thing.
I do everything all by myself.
And that helps us because maybe some couples like to do that all the time. But to me, it's like, we could do it. It's great. But like, if I'm doing something else, now you're pulling me from that. And now it's like,
and the whole time you're just resenting, thinking that you could still be finishing that.
Resenting because
later when you have dinner, you're not even together.
Yeah, because now that was an obligation. I'm like, oh, and then you might be triggered next time, like, oh, I'm gonna have to go to the supermarket when I get home from work, and then you come home from work and you're like miserable because you got to do something. It's subtle. I'm not complaining, but it's just something subtle that we caught early on that it makes it smoother now, where I don't feel that I can go for my run, you go do your thing, and then at the end of the day, we get together.
Together when we get together.
Yeah.
And if we don't, we don't. Like I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
You're married, right?
And I feel like that it is the subtle things though. It's the subtle things that you let go, because you even taught me the way that sometimes I phrase things can be really bothersome, I guess, to you, or upsetting. And he's taught me to like rephrase the way that I say things.
If you say it in a negative manner.
Yeah, because I a lot of times I do like go at you, or I get defensive, or I say things in a way that's not really supportive of the ultimate goal, which is, the team of our marriage.
Yeah, being defensive is never going to help a relationship.
It doesn't help anything. Yeah. Like, so then you've taught me so much. Wow. Like he's taught me to really learn to like reframe the way that I'm saying something, and actually it makes it so that I'm actually communicating what I mean rather than holding it in and, building up that resentment inside.
Yeah.
Wow. Whoa. I love you guys, Amanda and Chris. You guys have such a good energy, in between of you, constantly growing and working on yourself. And there's also a really strong respect that you could see in the way each of you speak about each other, that it's so much fun talking to you. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having us, Esty. I'm so excited we finally got to meet you.
I know, right?
That's all for this episode of the Life Fix University podcast, but I have a huge favor to ask of you that will not only support the show, but will also help the people you love most. We are striving for 1 million downloads by the end of 2025, and we can't do this without your help. If you love this episode, please share it with 2 of your family and friends so they too can rewire their brains to have an extraordinary marriage. It was awesome spending time with you, and I'll see you on the next episode.